Hi guys, so here we are at the Gripen atelier where we're building the beautiful Genera.
Christian von Koenigsegg just revealed a new engine concept so extreme, so violently opposed to the clean, quiet, battery-powered future everyone thought was inevitable, that it feels less like an announcement and more like a direct challenge thrown at the entire electric vehicle movement. Before we start, hit the like and subscribe buttons for more exclusive news. For years, the automotive world has been told that the combustion engine was living on borrowed time. The message was repeated everywhere. Batteries were the future. Electric motors were the final destination. The old world of pistons, valves, turbos, exhaust notes, fuel, fire, and mechanical fury was supposed to fade into history. Every major manufacturer started shifting toward EVs. Governments pushed deadlines. Investors chased battery startups. The industry began moving as if the verdict had already been delivered. Then Christian von Koenigsegg stepped forward and reminded the world that innovation does not only happen inside a battery pack. This is not just another engine reveal. This is not a nostalgic attempt to keep an old technology alive. Koenigsegg is not building engines because it refuses to accept the future. Koenigsegg is building engines because it believes the future may have been judged too early. And when a company known for rewriting the limits of speed, weight, power, and engineering precision reveals a new combustion idea, the entire conversation changes, because Koenigsegg does not operate like a traditional car company. It does not chase mass-market trends. It does not build ordinary machines for ordinary roads. It exists in the narrowest, most extreme corner of the automotive universe, where every component is questioned, every assumption is attacked, and every gram matters. This is the same company that turned megacar performance into a real category, that made impossible power figures feel physical, that treated engineering limits as temporary obstacles. So when Christian von Koenigsegg talks about a new engine, people listen. And this time, the timing is explosive. The EV industry has built much of its confidence on one central idea. Combustion is finished because it cannot compete anymore. Electric motors are efficient. They deliver instant torque. They are mechanically simpler. They can launch heavy cars with brutal acceleration. They fit neatly into the political and environmental story of the future. For the average driver, the case seems strong. Plug in, charge up, drive away. Fewer moving parts, less noise, no tailpipe emissions at the point of use. But Koenigsegg is aiming at a weakness that many EV supporters rarely want to discuss. Batteries are not magic. They are heavy. They require enormous material supply chains. They depend on charging infrastructure. They lose efficiency under certain conditions. They add mass that performance engineers must fight against every second. And while electric power can be brutally fast in a straight line, speed is not only acceleration. Speed is weight, cooling, energy density, packaging, endurance, emotion, response, and the way a machine feels when it is pushed to the edge. That is where Koenigsegg sees an opening. A new combustion engine from Koenigsegg is not meant to behave like the engines people think they already understand. It is not a simple continuation of the past. It is a statement that internal combustion can still evolve, still become smaller, lighter, cleaner, more powerful, more flexible, and more intelligent. In the hands of Koenigsegg, an engine is not just a block of metal burning fuel. It becomes a weapon of packaging, thermal strategy, airflow management, and control systems. The drama comes from the fact that this kind of engine does not need to defeat every EV on every metric. It only needs to prove that the future is not as one-sided as the world was told. It only needs to show that combustion still has room left to shock the industry. And once that happens, the story changes from EVs replacing everything to EVs competing against a technology that refuses to die. Christian von Koenigsegg has always understood something deeper than raw horsepower. He understands that performance is not just about numbers on a screen. It is about the relationship between driver and machine. Electric cars can be devastatingly quick, but they often deliver their speed in a strangely silent digital way. There is force, but less ritual. There is acceleration, but less theater. There is movement, but less mechanical drama. A Koenigsegg engine brings the opposite energy. It is sound, vibration, pressure, combustion, boost, heat and violence controlled with surgical precision. It turns motion into an event. Every ignition pulse matters. Every rise in revs feels alive. Every shift in load becomes part of the experience. That matters because the car industry is not only built on transportation. At the top end, it is built on desire. And desire does not always follow efficiency charts. This is why the reveal feels dangerous for the EV narrative. The electric revolution has been sold not only as necessary, but as inevitable. Yet inevitability becomes fragile when someone proves there is another path. If a combustion engine can be made radically efficient, compact, and powerful while working alongside advanced fuels or hybrid systems, then the conversation becomes more complicated. Suddenly, the future is not battery only. Suddenly, the door opens to multiple technologies fighting for relevance. That is a massive problem for companies betting everything on one solution. The EV industry has already faced pressure from charging concerns, battery costs, range anxiety, raw material sourcing, grid demands, and consumer hesitation in some markets. A breakthrough combustion engine does not need to erase EVs to create disruption. It only needs to slow the assumption that EVs are the only intelligent future. It only needs to give performance brands, enthusiasts, policymakers, and buyers a reason to pause. And Koenigsegg specializes in creating reasons to pause. Imagine the boardrooms. Automakers have spent billions preparing for an electric transition. Entire platforms have been redesigned around batteries. Marketing departments have spent years convincing people that combustion belongs to the past. Then a boutique Swedish hypercar company reveals an engine that makes the old technology feel futuristic again. That is not just engineering, that is narrative warfare. Because once combustion becomes exciting again on a technological level, the emotional battle becomes even harder for EVs. Electric vehicles have speed, but combustion has legacy. Electric vehicles have instant torque, but combustion has character. Electric vehicles have software, but combustion has soul. And when Koenigsegg enters the conversation, combustion also has innovation. That combination is powerful. The implications reach beyond hypercars. Koenigsegg may build machines for the ultra-elite, but its ideas often echo far outside its production numbers. Extreme engineering has always worked this way. Technologies begin at the edge where cost matters less and ambition matters more. Then, over time, concepts filter downward. Aerodynamics, carbon construction, turbocharging, hybrid systems, active suspension, lightweight materials, advanced engine control, all of these once lived in rarefied territory before becoming more common. So the real threat is not that Koenigsegg will outsell Tesla or replace mass-market EVs. That is not the point. The threat is that Koenigsegg may prove combustion still has unexplored potential. Once that idea becomes credible, it can inspire other engineers, investors, brands, and regulators to reconsider the timeline. The future becomes less like a straight road and more like a battlefield. And on that battlefield, weight matters. One of the greatest challenges facing EVs is mass. Batteries are dense with stored energy compared to many alternatives in some respects, but they are physically heavy. The more range a car needs, the larger the battery often becomes. The larger the battery becomes, the heavier the vehicle gets. Then the structure must support that weight. The brakes must control it. The tires must carry it. The suspension must manage it. Everything becomes a chain reaction. Koenigsegg's approach attacks that chain reaction. A compact, powerful combustion engine can deliver staggering output without carrying a gigantic battery pack. In a performance context, that difference can be transformative. Less mass means sharper direction changes, harder braking, better feel, and less punishment on tires and components. It means energy does not have to fight against its own weight. That is why the engine reveal matters so much. It reminds the world that energy density is still one of combustion's strongest arguments. Liquid fuels can store enormous usable energy in a relatively small mass. If the engine, extracting that energy becomes cleaner, smarter, and more efficient, the old weakness begins to look less final. The question shifts from whether combustion is obsolete to whether combustion has been underdeveloped in the rush toward batteries. That question alone is enough to make the EV industry uncomfortable. Then comes the issue of infrastructure. EVs depend on charging networks, battery supply chains, and grid capacity. In wealthy urban areas, that future may feel close. In rural regions, developing markets, extreme climates, and high-performance use cases, the picture becomes more complicated. A combustion-based or hybrid future does not require the same kind of complete infrastructure transformation. It can use existing habits, existing logistics, and potentially new fuel types without demanding that every driver change their entire relationship with energy overnight. Koenigsegg is not simply defending gasoline nostalgia. The bigger implication is flexibility. A future engine can be part of a hybrid system. It can use alternative fuels. It can run in ways that reduce emissions while keeping performance and range alive. It can become one component in a more diverse energy ecosystem. And diversity is dangerous to any industry that wants a single dominant answer. The EV industry wants certainty. Koenigsegg brings doubt, and doubt is powerful. The most cinematic part of this moment is that Christian von Koenigsegg is not presenting himself like a corporate executive trying to protect a legacy business. He is not running a giant company trapped by old factories and old supply chains. He is an engineer founder operating from the edge of possibility. That gives his message a different kind of credibility. He is not saying combustion must survive because his company cannot change. He is saying combustion can survive because engineering has not finished with it yet. That is a very different argument, and it lands hard because Koenigsegg has already proven its willingness to embrace electrification where it makes sense. The company is not anti-technology, it is not afraid of electric motors, it has used hybrid systems in extreme ways. It understands batteries, torque fill, energy recovery, and electric assistance. That makes its defense of combustion more significant, not less. It suggests that after exploring the electric side, Koenigsegg still sees something in engines that the wider industry may be too eager to abandon. That something is control. A combustion engine can be tuned like an instrument. Its response, character, power delivery, sound, and behavior can be shaped with almost infinite personality. In a hypercar, that matters. The machine must feel alive at every speed, not just devastating from 0 to 60. Koenigsegg understands that the emotional value of an engine is not a weakness. It is part of the product. It is part of why people dream about cars in the first place. The EV industry often talks as though emotion will simply transfer to electric power because the cars are fast. But speed alone is not enough. A roller coaster is fast. A bullet train is fast. A launched spacecraft is fast. What makes a performance car different is the sense of participation. The feeling that the driver is not just being transported, but is connected to controlled chaos. A Koenigsegg engine is controlled chaos at its highest form. That is why the reveal feels like a cinematic counterattack. For years, combustion was cast as the villain of the future. Loud, dirty, outdated, inefficient. But Koenigsegg reframes it as the underdog weapon, sharpened through intelligence, made lighter, made stronger, made more advanced. The engine becomes not a relic, but a rebellion. And rebellion sells. The global car market is not purely rational. People buy identity, they buy stories, they buy what a machine says about progress, freedom, status, and taste. EV brands have built powerful stories around technology and sustainability. Koenigsegg's new engine fights with another story, the idea that human creativity can refine fire rather than extinguish it. That is a primal message. Fire built civilization. Fire powered industry. Fire moved machines across continents. And now, in the age of software, sensors, and battery chemistry, Koenigsegg is essentially saying that fire still has another chapter. Not crude fire, not wasteful fire. Engineered fire, compressed, timed, boosted, measured, and unleashed through a machine so precise that it makes the old combustion argument feel new again. This is where the implications become bigger than cars. If combustion can be reimagined at the highest level, then technological progress does not always mean replacement. Sometimes it means reinvention. That idea challenges one of the most aggressive assumptions of the modern green tech economy, the assumption that older systems must be discarded entirely. Koenigsegg's reveal suggests something more disruptive. Perhaps some older systems were never fully optimized because the world got impatient. That does not mean EVs disappear. It means they face a more complex future. They must win not by default, but by performance, affordability, convenience, emotion, and real-world practicality. And competition like that is brutal. It forces everyone to improve. Battery makers must push energy density. EV companies must reduce weight. Charging networks must expand. Software must become more reliable. Prices must come down. The electric side can no longer rely on inevitability as its greatest weapon. Koenigsegg strips away inevitability, and in its place, it creates suspense. Because now the question is not whether EVs are coming. They are already here. The question is whether they will dominate every segment, every dream, every racetrack, every garage, every future regulation, and every emotional corner of the automotive world. Koenigsegg is saying no, not so fast. There is still a machine with pistons and combustion that can step into the arena and make even the most advanced electric platforms look heavy, silent, and incomplete. That is the kind of challenge the industry cannot ignore. The most threatening part is the symbolic value. A small company does not need to build millions of cars to change perception. It only needs to build one machine so extraordinary that everyone starts asking new questions. What if combustion is not dead? What if synthetic or alternative fuels become viable in certain sectors? What if hybrid combustion systems offer a better balance for performance cars? What if regulations become more flexible for low-volume or carbon-neutral fuel applications? What if the future becomes a mix instead of a mandate? Each question weakens the total dominance narrative. And once the narrative cracks, markets react. Investors, engineers, journalists, collectors, and manufacturers all pay attention to symbolic shifts. If the most advanced hypercar minds in the world continue investing in engines, it gives other companies permission to keep researching. It gives enthusiasts hope. It gives policymakers another variable. It gives legacy automakers a reason to preserve technical knowledge that might otherwise be abandoned. And it gives EV companies a warning: the finish line has not been crossed. Christian von Koenigsegg's reveal is so dramatic because it is not framed as resistance for the sake of resistance. It is framed as possibility. That is much harder to dismiss. A person clinging to the past can be ignored. A person building a better version of the past cannot, especially when that person has a long history of making outrageous engineering claims feel real. Koenigsegg's entire brand is built on moments that sound impossible before they happen. Extreme horsepower from compact engines, mind-bending acceleration, radical transmissions, carbon fiber engineering, lightweight design that borders on obsession. If another executive promised a combustion breakthrough, the industry might shrug. When Christian von Koenigsegg does it, the room changes, because his company has earned the right to be taken seriously. That seriousness creates tension. The EV industry has spent years positioning combustion as a solved problem with no future upside. Koenigsegg threatens that position by showing that combustion may still have hidden layers. Not because the basic principle is new, but because the execution can be transformed. Materials science improves, control systems improve, fuel injection improves, turbo technology improves, software improves, manufacturing precision improves. Once all of those forces converge, an engine is not the same kind of machine it was 20 years ago. It becomes something sharper, something more dangerous, something that refuses to leave quietly. The reveal also intensifies a cultural divide that has been building for years. On one side, there are people who see cars as appliances evolving toward clean transportation. On the other side, there are people who see cars as emotional machines, mechanical art, and expressions of freedom. EVs can serve the first group brilliantly, but the second group has never been fully convinced. They do not only want movement, they want drama. They want sound. They want the rising tension of an engine under load. They want a machine that feels like it has a heartbeat. Koenigsegg speaks directly to them, and that audience may be smaller than the mass market, but it is influential. Enthusiasts shape culture. Hypercars shape aspiration. Racing shapes brand identity. Posters, videos, records, and legendary machines influence what people believe cars can be. Even people who will never own a Koenigsegg may watch one and feel the pull of combustion all over again. That is why this engine matters on YouTube, in headlines, in garages, and in the imagination. It is not only transportation technology, it is spectacle. It is a thunderclap against silence. It is a reminder that not every future has to hum. Some futures may still roar. If you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Also, could you leave your comments below and tell us, do you think this new Koenigsegg engine could outperform modern EV technology? We want to hear from you. Thank you for watching and see you next time.